Ozark, Netflix's hit crime drama, drew to a close after the second part of Season 4 dropped last month, and fans have just about digested what happened in that finale. And now, having had time to let the dust settle, it's time for us to discuss exactly what went down, from Ruth's ending to Mel Saddam's storyline. Today we're talking about Ozark's finale and what it all means. Stay with us. First up, what exactly happened in the finale? Well, it appeared as though Ruth was going to get away with Javi's murder, although deserved, but of course Camilla, in her newfound position as head of the cartel, was never going to stand for the murder of her son. At the gala event, Camilla pressures Claire Shaw into giving up Javi's murderer by threatening her life, and the Shaw CEO crumbles like a house of cards, quickly giving up Ruth. Camilla then warns the Byrdes that if they intervene and warn Ruth, they will be risking the lives of their children, and not even Wendy Byrde is a monster enough to give up her own kids. Ruth is then ambushed as she returns home, and although we might not have seen it coming for the majority of the finale, it's kind of understandable that her arc ends with her being shot dead. There was a feeling that 3, or even Marty, might be lurking somewhere to save Ruth. Alas, it was not to be. Once Camilla has gotten her vengeance on Ruth, we then see the Byrdes accosted by Mel Saddam, who has been patrolling in the background throughout the entire season, with the single-minded goal of bringing down the Byrde family. However, the episode, and by proxy the entire show, ends with the rattle of a shotgun barrel, and Jonah coming full circle, once again bailing his family out of the danger they had put themselves in. What did you guys make of the show's finale? Let us know below. Next up, we're discussing that season opening. Stay tuned. At the very start of the season back in January, when the first part came out, the very first scene shows the Byrde family involved in a pretty serious car crash. The show then begins properly in what is supposed to be the build-up to those events. However, in the finale, we see the car crash that we saw at the start of the season, but there are literally no repercussions from the accident. Nothing happens. Nothing. Nobody dies, and it doesn't even really affect the storyline at all that much. Which begs the question, what was the point in starting the season off that way? It's kind of redundant. However, some fans have suggested the crash was symbolic. Marty interpreted it as a warning, telling his wife that it's not healthy to be around so much death, before asking her, how many times does God have to point at you before you take notice? I believe that accident was your last warning. However, Wendy had other ideas. She took it to mean that the odds were in their favor, and of course, she was correct. Again, the Byrdes wormed their way out of another sticky situation at the end of the season, as we have come to expect from Wendy Byrde and her scheming. What did you guys take the car crash to mean? So, what happened at the very end? Of course, there was a Sopranos-esque blackout-style ending when Jonah had the gun trained on the incorruptible Mel, who had returned to confront the Byrdes, and there are a number of different scenarios they could have played out. And just like the Sopranos ending, we are left to interpret ourselves what has gone down. The obvious one is that Jonah shoots Mel and the Byrdes bury him somewhere or take him out to the middle of the lake to dump his body. Of course, it's more likely they will just use their funeral home to burn the body and get rid of him completely. In a pretty dark twist, this would inextricably link Jonah to the Byrde family, suggesting that he is now fully in. Another scenario, which doesn't end in Mel's death, is that Jonah simply blows the goat cookie jar to pieces, destroying the evidence and thus leaving Mel's theory in pieces. Or Jonah could simply have just fired a warning shot, prompting Mel to leave the jar and, by proxy, the Byrde family alone. There is one other theory. Jonah shoots his overbearing mother and father dead, punishment for not protecting himself and Charlotte from the dangers of criminality. Jonah has been on the periphery of the family for the last couple of seasons and is obviously disillusioned with life with Wendy as his mother, especially after what she did to Ben. So does he have retribution on his mind? He could just as easily force his mother and father to the police station. What do you guys think? Next up, we're talking about Ruth's death. Stick around. Many fans of the fiery, foul-mouthed Ruth, played by the excellent Julia Garner, have lamented the show for killing off their favorite character. But Garner herself has explained that Ruth is almost a Shakespearean-esque character, the tragic hero destined to die. And there are clues lurking in the second part of Season 4 which predict her death. In the first episode of Part 4, she is listening to Illmatic, the seminal Nas album, which features the song Life's a B-I-T-C-H, which of course has the recurring lyric, Life's a B-I-T-C-H and then you die, which is a pretty apt way of describing Ruth's life, one might say. The rest of the album explores themes of guns, drugs, and death, something which Ruth is heavily involved in. She is also a Langmore, who hasn't fared well ever since Marty came to town. Ruth has lost everyone else, and when Marty suggests she change her name and head off into the sunset, she claims she likes her name, the same name that will eventually betray her. She also puts herself directly directly in the crosshairs of Camilla with her abrupt acquisition of the casino. But around this time in the second part of the final season, she is also seeing her family around the trailer. Whether they're ghosts or hallucinations, this is a common theme when an anti-hero is about to meet their maker. The metaphorical cleansing of her sins, having her record wiped, is also a clear indication she is being prepared for death. One Ozark showrunner has defended Ruth's death. Now, don't go anywhere. Chris Mundy, who serves as showrunner on the hit Netflix show, has chimed in on Ruth's death, claiming that it would have been untrue had she survived, which kind of makes sense. Of course, many have suggested that Killer Mike predicts her death in the diner when they're discussing Nas's Illmatic, and he says that there are some projects in Queens where you can see Manhattan from, and some have suggested that Ruth being shot in the very place she viewed the world from was prophesied by Mike. And Garner, who had quizzed Mundy during a phone call asking if she would die, described the character arc as a Greek tragedy. She went on to say she really wanted to get out of that place that she was in. She felt stuck and she felt like she was going to be here for the rest of her life. So I think she always wanted something better, but didn't know how to get it. However, she was on the cusp of attaining what she wanted before she was cruelly killed off. And Mundy, who explained it was a very difficult decision to kill her off, said there was a point where all of a sudden it's where the story was going. There couldn't not be any consequences, before describing Marty and Wendy as an invasive species. He finished by claiming it would have been untrue if Ruth didn't go, however much it may have outraged loyal Ruth fans. What do you guys make of the character's death? So after her character's controversial death, what's next for Garner? Let's see. Of course, the Bronx native has also just started another Netflix hit, Inventing Anna, the story of the fake socialite Anna Delvey. Having played two pretty controversial characters of late, Garner is next set to star in the psychological thriller Apartment 7A, alongside The Office legend John Krasinski. Not much is known about the production, but it is thought it will be a pretty big role for Garner in her quest to crack the big screen. She did appear in 2019's The Assistant, but it is her roles on TV for which she is best known, and she will be hoping that her new movie solidifies her as a Hollywood staple for some time to come. Garner actually started off her career in movies, but found fame with her recurring role on the hit spy thriller The Americans, in which she appeared across 10 episodes. And it seems as though, given her huge role on Ozark, Julia Garner could be Hollywood's next big star. What do you guys make of Garner's career so far? As always, thanks for joining us today, and remember to swing by next time for some more fun and games. Also, don't forget to like and share today's video, whilst also subscribing to our channel so you don't miss out on more great content going forward. Bye guys!